Today I'm going to make a mold out of my foot. The stuffs I have is molding, alginate, plaster, not blaster, water. First I will make a box that my shoe will fit in. For this I use some laminated paper, like cardboard paper. Just cut on one side and fold up the box from the underside, so there will be no cuts on the inside. I used the glue gun to seal the sides of the paper so the alginate doesn't leak out. Clean the foot and then mix the alginate. The alginate cures quite fast, so you have to stick your foot in it right away. Try to move your foot around a bit, even wiggle your toes so the alginate get to all places. And then you need to have the foot very still. When the alginate has cured, you can take out your foot, but I make small cuts with a knife and then wiggle my foot a bit to slowly get a foot out. Then I mix some plaster, so read the instructions clearly, because you need to blend the plaster very good to make good cast. But be aware, plaster cures quite fast, and if it cures a bit you can't use it, because then it won't run to all the places it should. I use something to vibrate the box so all the air bubbles from the plaster gets out, because you don't want any air bubbles in your cast. After the plaster has cured for 3 hours, I take out the foot, and you can try to break away as much alginate as you can, because you can't use it anyway. I use some tools to remove the alginate and some excessive plaster from the foot. I noticed I had a hole in the big toe, so I mixed up some plaster and filled the hole, because I wanna make a wax foot. Then I make a new box for the plaster foot. And for this cast I'm gonna use silicone. As you can see in the box, I filled a lot of spaces with insulation and other stuff, because silicone is quite expensive, so I don't want to use too much of it. I pour the blended silicone on the foot and let it cover all areas. Then I use something to vibrate to get out all of the bubbles from the silicone. I really let the silicone cure, so it's really cured, before removing the plaster foot. And I had a hole in like between my toes, so I needed to open up the silicone and cut the inside between the toes so that I could get loose the plaster foot. So take time for this process, because you don't want to break anything unnecessary. I use paraffin and beeswax for my cast. Melt the paraffin slowly, because you don't want that smoke in your house, so use a well ventilated area. I use some colored paraffin to make the foot red. I use tape to close my silicone mold, but You can use rubber bands and other stuff too. When it's all melted, I pour down the paraffin into the form. For a big form like a foot, the curing process might take up to 10 hours. You don't want to remove the foot too fast, because then you might warp the foot. To paint on wax, I use some acrylic paint, which are for like painting paintings. I try to get like another color for the nails. After it's dried, I use some white pen, just like to fill the edges of the nails. Then to get a shiny surface for the nails, I use some super glue. And there you have it, finished foot. And maybe my painting isn't that good, but yeah, you can always get better.